All right, everybody, welcome to the Backseat Huddle podcast, episode 50. So I'm going to start off with top 5 boom or bust teams in the NFL for 2023. So I'm going to start off at 5. I'm going to work my way down. And at number 5, I've got a little bit of a riddle for you. And I will tell you who it is. If I were to tell you there's a team, and please try to guess who this is. This is a good team. They were a fringe playoff team last season. Their issues are their head coach isn't proven, their offensive line is shaky, and their quarterback is coming off of a good to average season, not great. So they start their first 8 games of the season with 6 playoff teams from last season, including both conference champions, the greatest defensive coach ever, and a team with a defense that ranked 7th and looks to be a big-time bounce-back contender this season. What would you tell me this team's record would be through 8 games? 4-4? That seems optimistic and fair. You go 500 through a brutal stretch. Now what if I told you the actual true weakness of this team is their offensive line? And they play against Micah Parsons and the Cowboys, the Eagles defensive line, the Patriots who tied for the 3rd most sacks, and the Buffalo Bills excellent defensive line rotation. Now, maybe you say they lose one more game. Okay, let's say they're now 3-5 through 8 games. Now explain to me why the New York Jets aren't in trouble. I know your immediate thought is they have Aaron Rodgers now, and they were a quarterback away last season, which you may be right, but that doesn't make their competition any less fierce. Last season, the Jets got to play against 8 teams, the defense that was ranked 16th or worse. So basically, half their games were against average to below average, potentially bad defenses. This season, the Jets are playing against some dogs. They play against 6 defenses that were ranked in the top 12 in the first 8 games alone. Then in the second half of the season, they will play against the duo of Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. They'll play against Myles Garrett. And then late in the season, they will also play against the Commanders team that finished in 3rd in overall defense. This schedule is rough, and the Jets could be in trouble this season. Now, that's the pessimistic take. The other side of this argument is that the Jets were a fringe playoff team last season that just added a first ballot Hall of Famer quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers has only ever had a losing season 3 times in his career. The reason that the Jets could be really good are all really obvious, and they've been talked about ad nauseum, and everyone has been singing this team's praises for months. However, for the reasons I mentioned above, the swings for this team are potentially huge. They could miss the playoffs because they're in a division with 3 realistic playoff teams, or they could win the Super Bowl. That is as big of a boom or bust team as I can potentially think of. Now, the reason I had them ranked 5th is because I don't think anyone really expects the Jets to miss the playoffs. I certainly don't. I have them finishing 2nd in the division, a game or 2 behind the Buffalo Bills, just mainly due to some growing pains while introducing Aaron Rodgers. Number 4 is the Chicago Bears. I have the Chicago Bears ceiling as the NFC Championship game appearance and their floor at 5-12. The Bears season totally depends on Justin Fields. If he takes a Trevor Lawrence-esque jump this season, the Bears could end up being really good. If Justin Fields does take that kind of leap this season, it's possible that he becomes the 2nd best quarterback in the NFC. It's Jalen Hurts and who else? Dak? Kirk Cousins? All the good quarterbacks are in the AFC. It is wide open for him in this conference. So if he takes that jump, it's well within the possibility that Chicago is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NFC because of all the effort that they've put into and poured into this offense to support him. We all know the Bears got really aggressive this offseason in getting support for Justin Fields, and it's well publicized that everything that they've done to make this season successful for him. Now he just has to do it. The alternative is what if Justin Fields doesn't pan out and he ends up being a bust? The NFC North isn't elite, but it's at least solid. This Bears team doesn't have so much talent where they're going to be able to overcome a perpetual solid Viking squad, a Lions team that seems to be ascending, and a Green Bay Packers organization that's also ritually good. So if he ends up being a bust, their floor is low. If he takes the next step, their floor is extremely high. It all depends on Justin Fields for the Bears. Number 3 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay's ceiling is a division title, and Tampa Bay's floor is the worst team in the NFL. Here's why the Buccaneers are going to be better than you think. First, this team is going to win some games based on their defense alone. Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL. Last season, the Buccaneers finished top 5 in sacks and top 10 overall defense last season. His teams, Todd Bowles, are ritually in the top 10 defensively, and I don't see that trend coming to an end this season. The Buccaneers also play against 7 or 8 teams that have rookie quarterbacks or quarterbacks that will be starting their full year. I have zero doubt that Todd Bowles' ability to take advantage of all of that inexperience and translate it into defensive mismatches for those young quarterbacks they're going to be playing against. Tampa's going to win some games based on their defense alone. Second, the Buccaneers offense is going to be better in 2023 than it was in 2022. I understand you want to look at the departure of Tom Brady and wonder how the hell the offense could get better without him. But the more impactful departure is Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, former for the Buccaneers, who got fired. His offense was arguably the least creative, least interesting, most predictable offense in the entire NFL last season. If you've watched the Buccaneers at all this preseason, there's already more creativity in those 3 preseason games than there was in the last 3 seasons of Byron Leftwich. Third, Rachaad White, the running back for the Buccaneers, is going to break out this season in a major way. By the end of 2023, Rachaad White is going to be considered a top 10 back in the NFL. He was one of the few bright spots for this offense last season. This dude is big. He can catch. He can move. He's got juice, and he put on a dirty stiff arm last season. He is my breakout candidate for this team in a big way. Here's why I think the Buccaneers' floor is the exact same as you do for all the exact same reasons that you do. First being Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's an enigma. I feel like he's not as bad as everyone wants to say that he is, but it's probable I'm wrong. Personally, I think he's just a little bit closer to average than he is bad, but he keeps getting shipped off everywhere he goes. So I guess I'm just wrong on Baker Mayfield. However, I'm betting on him this season because this is likely his last true opportunity as a starter. So it's this or nothing else. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what becomes of that. Second reason, Tampa Bay's offensive line could be really bad. Their Pro Bowl center Ryan Jensen is out for the season, and potentially his career may be over. They're moving their right tackle to left guard. They're moving their left guard to right tackle. That's a lot of movement. And Luke Gedeke, the left guard who's being moved to right tackle, left a lot to be desired last season, and he was benched at one point last season, and now he's starting. So a lot has to go right for this offensive line to mesh. Lastly, I don't believe in Todd Bowles as a head coach. We've seen him fired once when he was with the Jets. Then last season, he helped Tom Brady to have the only losing season he's ever had in his career. But like Baker Mayfield, this is also Todd Bowles' likely last opportunity he'll get as a head coach. So we'll see if he can capitalize. Second team is the Buffalo Bills. The ceiling for the Buffalo Bills is the AFC Championship game, and the floor is third in their division. You should be worried about the Buffalo Bills. There is a lot of weirdness going on in this team right now, and their offseason's been pretty noisy. And teams that have noisy off seasons typically don't perform super well during the regular season. It's just some weird coming out of Buffalo. Stephon Diggs seems like he's been a head case since they lost to Cincinnati in the playoffs. Leslie Frazier just randomly stepping down as offensive coordinator, then them missing out on D-Hop. It just seems like from the outsider's perspective, that there's a lot going on in that building. However, they do still have Josh Allen, and they have a talented roster. So I don't feel that they can be counted out unless things really just blow up. The noise concerns me, but it's not something I can really quantify and put a true argument toward. So I'm going to say they won't be too bad, but it is possible that this team could blow up. Number 1 is the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys ceiling is a Super Bowl appearance, and their floor is missing the playoffs. The Dallas Cowboys have the personnel to make it to the Super Bowl. The Dallas roster has star power. They have great players all over the roster. This team kind of reminds me of the San Francisco 49ers, where their quarterback isn't really elite, but there's enough talent around Dak Prescott that it elevates the team beyond the quarterback's individual potential. This defense could arguably be the best in the NFL this season. They have an elite pass rush, elite players at all 3 levels, and it's really up to the offense to keep up this season, which is my main concern for the Cowboys. The issue with the Cowboys is coaching. Does anybody actually believe in Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy? Not really. Well, great, because now he's taking on even more responsibility this season. He is now calling plays. And we know last time Mike McCarthy called plays, Aaron Rodgers eye-rolled him out of Wisconsin. The Dallas Cowboys offense is guaranteed to get worse in 2023, and it's because former offensive coordinator Kellen Moore has moved on. They've been the second best offense in the NFL since he got hired in 2019. They scored the second most points and the second highest yards per game. So they have to fall at least some, because they sure as shit aren't going to get better, and I will tell you why. Do you expect Mike McCarthy, Mr. I want to run the damn ball and rest my defense, is going to make the Cowboys offense better? It might make the defense better, sure, but this is a passing league, and a league where all the rules lean offense, and Mike McCarthy is preaching the literal exact opposite. If you're a Cowboys fan, this has to concern you. It has to concern you, and it should. So those are my top 5 boom or bust teams this upcoming season.